What's up, everyone? Steve back again after a break from skate park tours to bring you another one. This time I'm at Mays Park Skate Plaza in Anderson, Indiana, checking out the skate plaza that's been here since like 2005 or 2006. This skate plaza was built by Site Design Group, which is a well-known skate park builder. It was actually built shortly after the Rob Dyrdek Skate Plaza opened up in Kettering, Ohio. And that was really the first wave of skate plaza type parks being built around the US. And you'll see in a little bit that there's really no transition at this park. It is entirely street. That's intentional. It was built to mimic actual street obstacles. Now, you're gonna see that there's parts of this that are nothing like what you would find in the streets, like metal edge ledges and things like that. But it really appeals to the street skater. And the city of Anderson, although it's had its struggles economically and with all kinds of different issues, it's done a nice job of maintaining this park. The park itself went through a bit of a remodel, like the outsides of it, not the skate park itself. And it's in a fairly nice area now. You wouldn't really know it driving into it, but the park itself is nice. It's got lights, they keep it painted. And the park continues to be in good shape. So if you're into street skating, you're going to want to check this park out. But without any more delay, let's go check out the park. So I'm starting from the west end of the skate plaza. And as you can see, there's this top section that's really huge with plenty of room for flat ground. Great part of having a skate plaza. And you've got some metal ledges. But before we get over to the ledges, I'll just point out that you've got this long 5-stair. I think originally this was not really intended to be a skatable section, but because of improvements with the new concrete and stuff, it works. So if you feel like a longer gap to skate, you certainly have this. And then of course you've got a restroom facility and picnic area, which is definitely helpful too. This stuff is relatively new, really only built within the last 2 or 3 years. So as we get up into the actual main part of the plaza, you've got these mirrored ledges, and really the whole park is symmetrical other than a few minor differences in like rail shapes. So you've got these ledges that are about 30 feet long, 14 inches tall or so, all with square coping on them, as you can kind of see here. And they're in pretty good shape still, despite, you know, they're kind of ideal for BMX and things like that. You've got a lot of length to get your tricks on, and they kind of curve around, which is interesting. I actually kind of like the diameter on these, or the radius on these curved ledges, because it's not so sharp that you just feel like you're going to instantly fall off, but you've got something nice and long to ride around, which is great. And it works for frontside and backside, as you can see. So we've got the mirrored ledge right over there as well. All right, now I'm going to go with these twin hubbas / out ledges. These are realistically like true hubba height, maybe a little bit shorter than what you'd find in the streets and a little bit longer, but they're not easy to get onto, and they've got a completely metal top, so they are very much board slidable. You could skate them like a rail, or just grind them, and they're long enough to where you can skate them like an out ledge if you come off the bump with enough speed. I will say that getting up off this bump is still going to require quite a bit of pop. So for someone like me who's getting older and is losing his pop, it's not really realistic for me anymore, but you know, certainly something that you can step to if you're inclined. The hubba itself isn't too steep down. I would say it's about 2.5 feet to get onto, give or take a couple inches, but the whole of it is, I would estimate, maybe 26 or 28 inches tall. And you can see this is about anywhere from 8 to 10 inches wide. So certainly narrow enough or skinny enough to get your full wheelbase on if you're trying to board slide it. And then on one side, you've got a bank, and then on the other side, you've got a longer force stair. And I'll show you in a minute that this mirrors another hubba on the exact opposite end of the park, just like we saw a little bit ago with the curved ledges. Now in the middle, you've got this pyramid. The pyramid itself is about 4.5 feet tall or so, maybe about 4 feet. Some longer banks. It's a little bit steeper and mellower up at the top. That kind of contradicted. It's a little bit mellower up at the top just because it's taller. The top section is taller, but you can skate it in a number of different directions. Doesn't really work with the stairs much anymore, but you still have a bunch of options, and this also helps you carry speed to the Euro gap that's across the side from the park. But this is really a huge pyramid, and I think it's the right pitch for a lot of different flip tricks. The one probably drawback to this is if you're coming completely from the side of the park, you don't have a whole lot of run room to get up to it. You really have to run and jump onto your board to get there. But otherwise, it's a lot of options for this particular obstacle. The one thing that would probably be a bit challenging is airing over the top of it, just because the top is probably 8 feet long. So this section up here, 8 feet square, that's a kind of a big area to air over. It's possible, and people have definitely done it, but you're gonna need to be hauling it for sure. All right, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this since you already saw the exact opposite on the other side, but you can see we have that other twin square hubba, this time with a bank on the right side and then the stairs on the left. So if you want to skate these, you got options whether you're regular or goofy, skating switch or regular, so that helps. Now before we step over to the back section of the park, I just want to point out these twin boxes. There's one on each side of the park, and these are about 14 inches tall, the same height as the curved ledges on the west end of the park. However, you can skate these more like a manual pad, and they're certainly shorter. So as long as you have a little bit of pop to get onto them, they're going to be fun to skate. The one thing I will say that is kind of a bummer about the Anderson Park is there's really no variety in the heights of the ledges. And so if you're hoping to kind of like work your way up to different heights of ledges, you might be a little bit disappointed there, which I think if I were designing this park, I would probably put in the variety there and sacrifice a little bit of symmetry. All right, so as we're heading to the east end of the skate park, we encounter a 5-stair with rail. This rail is beefy and the bank is a lot bigger. The east end is taller than the west end in terms of the height of the back flat part. So you do carry more speed if you're going west than if you're going east. So it makes it more challenging in some respects to get up onto these out ledges and hubba, but you do have a steeper bank here, so you do get more pop off it. So this hubba is legit. It's again about 2.5 feet tall or so. You can probably pretty easily get smoked on it. Got square coping on the edge of it, and is in really good shape despite its age. I mean, I see skate parks that are really chewed up, and this one is doing pretty good for itself, so that's great. The out ledge is probably 10 feet or so, so there's plenty of room to grind or do slides, which makes it interesting as well. Now back with this 5-stair, this side, this is where the symmetry really starts to change. On this side, you've got a circular rail. This pipe is about 3 inches in diameter, so it is a bit wider than like an actual handrail in the streets. The rail itself, probably at its tallest point, is maybe 2.5 feet tall. So yeah, you could land on it the wrong way and sack it. But all in all, you're pretty mellow still. And because the 5-stair is long, it's not too steep. The only thing that you just have to consider is that, you know, it's a big beefy rail compared to what's getting built these days. One thing I do want to point out that's kind of nice, if you can see this, handrail skaters will appreciate this, but if you're hitting this from the front side or back side, you still kind of have the same place to pop off of, which really helps. The one downside is you got this crack at the beginning, so that might throw you off a little bit, and something that would mess with me, but it's pretty smooth all in all, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. Next, we've got a really long out ledge that's about a 4-foot drop or so. This ledge is only about 10 inches when you get onto it, and it's different lengths depending on the side that you get on. So if you get on the 5-stair, you've got about 12 feet of grind. If you get on the big kind of 2 or 3, you really only have 6 or 8 feet of grinding. So you know, certainly some different options as far as that's concerned. And you could also skate it like a manual pad drop as well. But you'll have an exactly symmetrical version on the other side of the park. Since we're here, I'll just point out the big 3. Definitely a tall drop. I think they just said, instead of doing a 5-stair again, we'll do this 3-stair thing that's a little bit longer. Keeps it kind of interesting as far as a gap is concerned. They certainly could have just done a bank ramp or something, so I kind of appreciate them not doing that. But you know, definitely something that is going to be a bit challenging to jump over. The nice thing is you do have a little bit of options as well as far as how you can handle that, because you got a big 2 coming from this direction. Now we've got our Euro gap and big 2 gap. The Euro gap can be hit when you're coming off of the pyramid over on the other side of the park. It's kind of, it's not bad to launch over, but the gap is about 4 or 5 feet long. So you do have to carry a decent amount of speed and pop, but really not too difficult if you skated Euro gaps before. And then the big 2, pretty straightforward as well. It is a drop. You are going to need some speed, but not too bad. I would say the height of it is probably 3 feet or so. The length of it maybe about 6 feet. So kind of beefy, but if you stood up at the top of it, you'd kind of be, if you're used to skating gaps, you'd be like, no problem. All right, I'm going to keep pointing this out, but most of the park is symmetrical, as you've already kind of picked up on. The one part of this park that is not symmetrical is the other handrail, and this one is square. So if you like square rails and want to lock in on those 50/50s, you know, eat your heart out, you've got this rail for you. But hubba and out ledge as well to skate this part. All right, our last part of the park is this curved ledge that curves in 2 directions, so you can skate it all like one. Probably a little bit more friendly for a BMX rider, but yeah, it's another 14-inch tall ledge and manual pad and something else to skate. As you can see, not a lot of variety in terms of the heights of ledges, but that's all right. And then of course, plenty of flat ground up top as well. So this is really a true street plaza minus any kind of trees, as you can see. All right, so that does it for the Mays Park Skate Plaza in Anderson. If you're a street skater, you probably saw some things that you'd be down to skate. So if you're ever coming through Anderson, you might want to come check this park out. Skate a Skate Plaza. And if you're not into that, well, there's plenty of other skate parks to check out in the area that have transition and bowls and all that stuff. So hopefully you'll find something you like, and this park isn't for you. Check out some of my other reviews and overviews, and maybe you'll see something that gets your interest going. So thanks for watching. If you got any questions about the park, just drop them in the comments, and I do my best to answer the ones that aren't obvious or something that was already answered in the video. So definitely do that, and I appreciate you watching. So thanks, and stay tuned for more skate park overviews.